Hello, this is Eyes Free Fitness, floor yoga for strength and peace. I'm Joe Simek, certified yoga instructor and owner of Dragonfly Yoga Studio in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Make sure you consult a physician before performing this yoga sequence or any exercise program, especially if you have medical conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes. It is your responsibility to evaluate your own medical and physical condition and to determine whether to perform or adapt any of the exercises in this program. If you have symptoms like weakness, lightheadedness or dizziness, chest pain or pressure, nausea, or shortness of breath, stop and consult your healthcare provider. All of the postures in this program can be found with detailed descriptions and modifications at BlindAlive.com. I recommend you review them at least once. Today I'll be leading you through a seated yoga flow sequence designed as a moving and breathing practice without standing postures. We will remain in a seated, tabletop, prone, or supine position throughout the practice. This practice is not about perfect postures. Rather, it's about syncing movement with breath, which can improve strength and range of motion, along with having a calming effect on the mind. In addition to a yoga mat, I suggest that you have a folded blanket or a pillow for this yoga practice. It's important that you sit on something like a blanket or a pillow to get your hips above your knees when sitting cross-legged. You might also use a blanket under your knees when we are in hands and knees or tabletop position. You can start by crossing your legs, or if it's more comfortable, extend your legs out in front of you. Either way, your sitting bones should be on the blanket or pillow, and your legs should be in front of it, so that your hips are raised a little above your knees. This should make sitting more comfortable. As we begin, let's first start by noticing the connection between our bodies and the earth. Take a moment to feel the points of the body that connect to the mat and to the floor. Your feet, your legs, your sitting bones. From this place of connection and support, start to find length in your spine, sitting up as tall as possible. Feel a nice line of energy moving up your spine and through the crown of your head. Begin to relax your shoulders. Place your hands on your knees, maybe palms facing up. Relax your throat and jaw, letting your tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Begin to notice your breathing. As you continue to breathe, allow the air in and out of your nose. Feel the cool air moving in your nose and the slightly warmer air moving out. And allow your breath to become a little bit audible. Also, begin to feel the inhale in your belly. As you breathe in, let your belly expand. And as you breathe out, let the belly contract. Listen to your breath here. We call this conqueror breath, and we use it for both a centering technique to begin our yoga practice, as well as during our practice. Take a few more breaths here. Keeping our connection to our breath, we will begin to move and breathe. Remember, the point of this practice is to sync movement with breath. Stay with your conqueror breath throughout our practice, coming back to it whenever your mind wanders. To warm up the neck and shoulders, start by dropping your chin towards your chest. As you move your head in a circle to the right, bring your right ear over your right shoulder. Continue to move in the same direction, dropping your head backwards a little, and then bringing your left ear over your left shoulder. Finally, bring the chin back to the chest. Continue to move in this circular fashion, breathing as you move. Remember to move and breathe slowly, relaxing your shoulders. Next time you bring your chin to your chest, reverse your direction for 3 breaths. You should be taking a full rotation with each breath. As you come back to center, lift your head back to neutral. We'll move now into our wrists. Extend both your arms forward in front of you. Your arms should be parallel to the floor. Make some gentle fists with both hands and begin to make circles with them, moving both at the same time, but in opposite directions. Feel the muscles throughout the arms begin to activate and the wrist joints to warm up. If you haven't already, reverse direction, moving the hands and wrists in the opposite direction and continuing to breathe. Now relax your arms back down. We are moving into the shoulders now. As you inhale, extend and lift both your arms up in front of you, and continue bringing them up all the way up over your head so they are in line with the rest of your body. At the top, your hands will be a little wider than your shoulders. As you exhale, sweep your extended arms back down past your thighs and behind your body. You may need to bend your wrists slightly to clear the floor. Again, as you inhale, extend and lift your arms all the way up overhead, palms facing each other. Then exhale and bring them down and behind you. Your arms remain generally straight in this moving and breathing exercise, but there's a slight micro bend in the elbows. Inhale and exhale 2 more times in this exercise as we continue to warm the shoulders. Bring your hands back to your knees, but this time with your palms facing down. We're going to use our hands on our knees for a little bit of traction as we warm the chest and upper back in some seated cat-cows. As you inhale, pull your chest forward and upward, lifting your chin upward and dropping your head back slightly. As you exhale, bring your chin back down towards your chest and round your back. Inhale again, moving the chest and chin upward, again using your hands on your knees to pull yourself open. Exhale and move the air out by rounding your back and dropping your chin. Let's do that movement 3 more times. Come back to a neutral spine. Now we are going to warm the oblique muscles on the sides of our torso with some spinal rotation. Start by leaving your right hand on your right knee and holding on there. Breathe in, and this is important, lengthen as much as you can through your spine, sitting up tall. As you exhale, begin to twist your torso and open your chest to the left, bringing your left hand behind you on the mat for balance. Come back to center and put your left hand on your left knee. Breathe in again with length in your spine, and as you exhale, begin to twist your torso and open your chest to the right, bringing your right hand behind you on the mat for balance. Again, come back to center with your inhale, and as you exhale, twist open to the left. Inhale back to center, and then exhale and twist the air out as you open to the right. Let's do this 3 more times on each side, remembering to inhale at center with a long spine and exhale as you twist. Come back to center. Let's do 1 more seated warm-up. This time we will move side to side in some lateral flexion to warm the muscles in the low back that are often tight and sore. From a neutral seated position, bring your right hand down to the floor directly in line with your right hip, but about a hand's distance away from your hip. Your fingers should be pointing away from your body. Your elbow will be slightly bent a little here. With your inhale, lift your left arm overhead just as we did when we warmed our shoulders. As you exhale, bring your left arm over your head to the right and shift your weight onto your right hand, stretching the left side of your body. Come back to center, dropping your left hand down to the ground in line with your left hip. Inhale your right arm high now. And as you exhale, bring your right arm over your head to the left and shift your weight onto your left hand, stretching the right side of your body. Come back to center. Again, inhaling your left arm high and hinging to the right with your exhale. Inhale back to center, lifting your right arm, and exhale as you hinge to the left. Move back and forth here for 3 more breaths on each side, being sure to pause at center for your inhale, and exhale as you hinge. Come back to center. We are going to transition to all fours or tabletop position. Start by putting the palms of your hands, your knees, shins, and the tops of your feet to the mat. You may want to put a thinly folded blanket under your knees. You might also consider rolling or folding the edge of your mat to add some padding under your wrists. Your fingers can be slightly hanging over the edges of your mat if you choose to do this. We will be doing a number of exercises from this position, so some extra padding can be really helpful. As you move into tabletop position, your fingers can be at the very top of your mat. Make sure your hands, knees, and feet are all hip distance apart. In other words, your knees should be directly under your hips, and your hands and feet should be in line with your knees. Your wrists should be directly under your shoulders, and you should keep a little micro bend in your elbows. Here's another moving and breathing exercise called cat-cow. Connecting again with your conqueror breath. Inhale, and as you do, drop your belly towards the mat, just like the dropping belly of a cow. Raise your nose upward, lifting the chin. Feel the stretch in your abdominal muscles and open your chest. As you exhale, move the opposite direction. Arch or round your back like a cat, dropping your head towards your chest and tucking your chin. Continue to breathe and move in these cat-cows. Let's do a few more. When you are finished, come back to a neutral spine in tabletop. To warm up the hips, we'll do an exercise which is similar to cat-cow, but there's a variation. From a tabletop position, inhale, and as you do, extend your right leg back behind you, parallel to the floor, straightening the leg and pushing through your heel. As you exhale, bring the right knee and thigh into the chest. As you bring the leg in, you can round the back again. Again, as we inhale, we are lifting the leg back parallel to the floor, and as we exhale, we are bending the knee and bringing it into the chest. Let's do 2 more of these. Bring your right knee back down into tabletop, and we'll move to the left leg. We'll do the same thing on this side, lifting the leg back and extending it behind us with our inhale. As we exhale, the knee and thigh come into the chest. Inhale, lift the leg back. Exhale, bring it into the body. Continue to move and breathe in this exercise. Relax back into a tabletop position and rest for a moment. Before we move on, let's warm up the ankles. So again, extend your right leg out behind you. Make sure you are steady and balanced on your hands and your left knee. Starting with your right toes pointing down to the mat, take a moment to bring some movement into your right ankle by slowly making circles with the foot. Take a breath or two here as you rotate, and then reverse direction for a few breaths. Put your right knee back on the mat and change sides. Extend your left leg out behind you, and balancing on your hands and your right knee, point the left toes down, and then slowly make circles with the left foot. Remember to breathe and move in both directions. Relax back down to tabletop position again and take a resting breath here. Now we are going to combine cow pose with child's pose. First, inhale, and as you do, again drop your belly toward the mat, feeling a stretch through your belly as it expands. Then, with your knees in line with your hips and the tops of your feet on the mat, bring your hips back towards your heels. Your chest will move towards the top of your thighs, and your forehead may come to the mat. You can keep your hands planted in one place. Then, with your inhale, lift yourself back up to a tabletop position and drop your belly again. As you breathe out, drop yourself back into child's pose. Notice how your legs help you to move the air out. If child's pose is very uncomfortable, try spreading your knees out a little wider than your hips as you come down again. Keep breathing between these two poses, inhaling your belly low in tabletop, and then sitting back into child's pose with your exhale. Let's do 3 more of these. The next time you move into child's pose, take a moment and rest in that position. Let's move on to our next exercise. Lift yourself back up to tabletop. Begin to sink your hips back towards your heels, and as you do, engage your core and lift your torso up so it's in line with your thighs. Your hips will be off your heels and directly in line with your knees. Your back should be perpendicular to the floor. In other words, it's like you're in a standing position, except you are resting on your knees and your shins are on the mat. Again, remember you can always put a blanket underneath your knees for padding. As you inhale, sweep your arms up overhead like we did earlier in our practice, so they are in line with the rest of your body. As you exhale, engage your core and muscles and begin to drop yourself all the way back down into a child's pose. Try to control your body as you bring yourself back down, and don't just let yourself flop to the floor. Exhale completely as you move into child's pose, with your arms reaching out towards the top of the mat. Then, with your inhale, lift yourself back up as you were, reaching your arms overhead again. Exhale back to child's pose. Move back and forth between these two poses for 3 more cycles of breath, remembering to breathe and move in sync and in a controlled way. Keep your core engaged as you move for safety. As you move into your last child's pose, let's rest in that position. Allow your hips to move onto your heels and your chest to rest on your thighs. You can leave your arms extended in front of you, or you might bend your elbows and stack your forearms. You can rest your head on your forearms. Take a few breaths resting here. Lift yourself back up to tabletop or all fours position. We are again going to use cow pose, but this time we will be moving and breathing with cow pose and downward facing dog. From tabletop, bring your hands out slightly towards the sides of the mat. Ground down into the mat with the entirety of your hands, especially your palms. Your index finger should be pointing directly forward. As you inhale, drop your belly again in cow pose. With your exhale, curl your toes under, lift your knees off the mat, and push your hips towards the ceiling and back towards the back of the mat, forming sort of a triangle or pyramid shape with your body. However, you do not need to straighten your legs in down dog. You might remain slightly on the balls of your feet. However, try to get the weight to move out of your wrists by continuing to push your energy back through your hips. Remember, your body is in the shape of a triangle, not a push-up position. As you inhale, drop your knees back to the mat into tabletop position and drop your belly low. As you exhale, again, curl your toes under, lift your knees off the mat, and send your hips toward the back of your mat. Take your time and sync your breath with your movement. Remember to breathe here. Let's try this 2 or 3 more times, inhaling in cow and exhaling into a downward facing dog. We're going to continue with this combination of cow to down dog, but you should rest now in child's pose if you need to. The next time you arrive in down dog, pause for a moment. We will change our pose the next time we go into an inhale. This time, inhale and drop your knees to the mat, keeping them in line with your hips, bringing your shoulders over your hands, but keeping a slight bend in your elbows. Continue to drop your hips towards the mat, keeping your core engaged as you arch your back and lift your chin towards the ceiling, in what we will call lazy up dog pose. As you exhale, push yourself back into child's pose as you did earlier in your practice. Rest here for a moment. Let me put those 4 poses in order for you, and then I'll guide you through them all again. We'll be inhaling to cow, exhaling to down dog, inhaling to lazy up dog, and then exhaling into a child's pose. Ready? Here we go. Lift up to tabletop position. As you inhale, drop your belly again in cow pose. With your exhale, curl your toes under, lift your knees off the mat, and push your hip towards the ceiling and back towards the back of the mat, moving into a bent knee down dog. Inhale, and as you do, drop your knees to the mat. Then drop your hips towards the mat. Arch your back and lift your chin towards the ceiling in lazy up dog. As you exhale, push yourself back into a child's pose. Starting with an inhale in tabletop, drop your belly. Exhale, lifting yourself up onto your hands and feet in down dog. Inhale, dropping your knees, then hips, and arching your back, lifting the chin in lazy up dog. And finally, exhale back into child's pose. Move through that 4 pose flow one more time, remembering to breathe, and then, when you're finished, rest in child's pose. From here, we're going to move and breathe in what we call Cobra pose. First, bring yourself from child's pose down onto your chest. With your chest on the mat, your elbows bent and off the mat, and your hands underneath your shoulders, inhale. As you do, push your hands into the mat and lift your chest off the mat. As you do, it's important to keep your elbows in towards the body, your shoulder blades back and down, and your shoulder blades moving together towards the spine. Remember that the bend is in the lower back, not in the neck, so you do not need to lift your chin high. Exhale your chest slowly back down to the mat. Let's do that again. Inhale, pushing your hands down into the mat and lifting your chest. You'll feel your biceps working to lift you You also want to engage the muscles in your back and glutes to lift yourself up. Exhale and slowly release back to the floor. Let's do that 3 more times. It's important now that we counter those back bends with a child's pose. So move yourself into child's pose and take a few breaths here. Let's do another back bend, but this time it will be a little bit different. We'll be moving and breathing in a pose called half locust. Move back down to your chest. Extend your right arm past your head and rest it on the ground, bringing your left arm along your side. With your inhale, lift your right arm off the mat just a few inches. And at the same time, lift your left leg off the mat. You don't have to lift too high, just make sure the front of your thigh comes off the mat. As you exhale, drop your arm and leg back down. As you inhale, again lift your right arm and your left leg off the mat. You'll have to engage the muscles in your back and the back of your upper leg to lift them. Exhale and bring them both back down. Do 3 more of these on this side. Inhale and lift, and exhale and relax. Rest on the mat for a moment. Let's do the other side. So switch your arms now, extending your left arm in front of you and bringing your right arm along your side. With your inhale, lift your left arm off the mat and at the same time lift your right leg off the mat. Exhale and bring them both back down to the mat. Keep going on this side, syncing your movement with your breath. After your next exhale, go ahead and rest. To counter those back bends, we're going to flip our child's pose over and hug our knees into our chest. So turn your body over and roll onto your back. Once you are on your back, bend your knees and bring your knees into your chest. Place your palms face down on top of your knees. Right hand on the right knee and left hand on the left knee. With your inhale, gently move your knees away from your body toward the bottom of your mat, but keep your hands on top of your knees. Allow your belly to expand a little with your inhale. And as you exhale, bring your knees back into your chest. Inhale again and move your knees away from your torso. Exhale and bring them in, using your legs and knees to move the air out. This is not an abdominal exercise, so don't let go of your knees. Make it as easy as possible and focus on your breathing. Let's take 3 more breaths. From here, we are moving into an inversion called bridge pose. Release your legs, but keep your knees bent and rest the soles of your feet back on the mat. Keep your knees in line with your hips. Bring your arms along your sides on the mat, palms facing down. Make sure your heels are not up by your buttocks. We'll be lifting our hips towards the ceiling in bridge pose, and when we do this, we want to make sure our knees are directly on top of our ankles. Notice the space between your low back and your mat. Move the low back towards the floor and tilt the pelvis towards the ceiling. And as you do this, inhale and lift your hips up as high as you can towards the ceiling. With your exhale, roll your low back and hips to the floor. Inhale again, rooting through the entirety of your feet, and lift your hips up off the mat. Exhale and roll yourself back down. Take 1 more breath doing this rolling bridge pose. We are going to continue with this movement, but in addition to lifting our hips with our inhale, we're going to raise our arms overhead. So inhale and lift your hips, and then lift your arms up and then back over your head. Just like in warm-ups, we want a little bend in the elbows and the hands to be a little wider than our shoulders. As you exhale, bring your arms back down by your sides as you roll your hips back to the mat. Let's do 2 more, moving your arms overhead with your inhale. Rest your hips back down on your mat and take a full cycle of breath and rest here. We'll transition now into a seated posture. And as you lift yourself up, you can again sit on a folded blanket or pillow, but at a low level. This time, extend your legs out in front of you. We'll move now into a seated forward fold. Bring your toes towards your shins, slightly engaging your quads, and bring some bend into your knees. Your knees should be facing directly up towards the ceiling. As you inhale, raise your arms up directly over your shoulders. As you exhale, begin to bend forward, hinging at the hips. As you bring your chest forward, you can slightly round your back. Come down slowly, imagining you're holding a big ball in your hands. And as your hands come down, place them on either side of your legs, keeping your shoulders square. You will probably feel a stretch in your back and in your upper legs. With your next inhale, keep your arms extended and lift your arms overhead as you lift your torso back up perpendicular to your legs. Exhale again, hinging forward at the hips and bringing the arms down and the hands on either side of your knees. Inhale back up the same way. Let's try one more like that. Exhale and forward fold. And then inhale and lift yourself back up. Rest here and naturally exhale. We are going to continue with this exercise, but we are going to add to it. This involves a reclining portion to the exercise, and you may need to modify the exercise for yourself. If you choose, you can continue to do what we were just doing, inhaling your arms up and forward folding with your exhale. To take things a little bit further, we'll start the same way. Inhale and lift your arms over your head in line with your torso. Now, with your exhale, engage your core and roll back gently onto your back. As you come back, it will take some core strength to drop back slowly. Once you are down, your body will be fully extended with your arms overhead. Inhale here. Then, with your next exhale, engage your core again and roll yourself back up to a seated posture. This is like a sit-up, so you can help yourself up with your hands if you need to. Once you are seated and your torso is vertical, inhale here with your arms overhead, and then forward fold with your exhale, coming back down again as we did before in a forward fold. Inhale back up to seated. Exhale and lower yourself slowly backward. Inhale in this reclined position. And then exhale yourself back up to your seat. Let's do this one more time. In the full exercise, you would have your arms overhead the whole time, but feel free to modify the position of your hands as needed. Inhale with your arms overhead. Exhale into your forward fold, using the body to move the air out. Inhale back up to a seated position. Exhale and lower yourself slowly down into a reclining position. Inhale on the floor. And exhale and lift yourself back up to a seated position. Release your arms and take 2 resting breaths. We have one more exercise before our final relaxation pose, and this one is a reclining twist. Roll yourself back down to your mat and onto your back. To start, bring both knees into your chest and rock a little bit side to side. Now bring your feet to the mat with your knees bent Inhale here at center with your knees pointing up at the ceiling. With your exhale, drop your knees to the right, allowing them to land wherever they fall. You don't need to keep your knees together, and both of them do not need to come all the way down. Then, inhale your knees back up to center again. With your exhale, drop your knees to the left, again letting them land where they naturally fall. Inhale your knees back up to center, and then drop them to the right, twisting the air out of your body. Inhale back up to center, and then drop them to the left. Let's do 3 more of these on each side, remembering to inhale at center and exhale into a reclining twist. Move from side to side each time. When you're finished, bring the knees back to center and bring them back into your chest, and give yourself one last hug by wrapping your arms around your shins. You can again rock side to side to massage the back. It's time to move into our last posture, relaxation pose. If you have any tension in your lower back, keep your knees bent and bring the soles of the feet back to the floor. Bring your knees together and then walk your feet out to the edges of your mat. Your knees can rest on one another. Stay like this as long as you need to. Otherwise, extend both your legs out and down to the mat. Bring your arms along your side with your palms facing up. There's nothing physically left to do now. Begin to relax your body as you feel the support of the floor beneath you. Take notice of what points of your body are connecting with the mat and the floor. Also, notice the air as it touches your skin. See if you can feel the body begin to sink into the floor, bringing a sense of relaxation into the body. Bring your awareness first to your toes, relaxing them. And then let that sense of relaxation move now into your feet, into your heels, and let it move up into your ankles, calves, and shins. Your knees are relaxing. That relaxing energy moves up now to the tops of your thighs, wrapping around to the backs of your thighs. Your hips and pelvis relax and sink a little deeper into the mat. Bring your awareness to your belly and let it soften. Relax your lower back, bringing your awareness to each vertebrae as you move up your spine and into your rib cage. Wrap back around to your heart center and relax your chest. Let your shoulders relax deeper into the mat as well. Bring your awareness to your biceps and triceps, your elbows, forearms, and wrists. Feel the relaxing energy in the palms of your hands as you relax through your fingertips. Let the tongue fall from the roof of the mouth as you soften your throat and jaw. See if you can relax the muscles in your face, your nose, the very center of your eyes. Relax the space between your eyebrows, moving up to the center of your forehead, and finally to your crown. Allow your head to feel heavy, allow your body to feel heavy, and come back to your breath. Come back to the gentle rise and fall of your belly. Each inhale bringing a sense of relaxation, and each exhale releasing tension. As you continue to breathe here, think to yourself with your inhale, I am, and as you exhale, at peace. Inhaling, I am, and exhaling, at peace. Stay here in this peaceful state, continuing to breathe. I invite you now to take your deepest breath in, fully inhaling and fully exhaling. When you're ready, begin to bring some movement back into your fingers and toes. Stretch your arms out overhead. Bring them down to the mat, pointing through your toes and feeling the body lengthen. Inhale and exhale here. And as you do, roll onto your right side in the fetal position. Take a moment here to thank yourself for practicing your yoga. Take note of how you feel and take this sense of peace with you as you go through your day. With your next exhale, bring yourself back up to a comfortable seated pose with your legs crossed or extended out in front of you. Take a moment to breathe. Bring your palms together in front of your heart and bow to your true self. Thank you for joining me. For more descriptive fitness programs, go to BlindAlive.com.
To learn more about BlindAlive and to order our products, visit us on the web at www.blindalive.com. While you're there, check out our blog and podcast. Finally, like us on Facebook and follow @BlindAlive on Twitter.